3 months had passed since the wedding, and at first, the elderly mother felt alive with silver hair neatly tied behind her head was relieved that her son had finally married. For years, she had carried the house alone, waiting for someone who could share the responsibilities, a daughter-in-law who might treat her like a mother. The first few weeks seemed perfect. The new wife, always in red dresses and polished heels, smiled, helped her sit at the table, even called her mama. The mother whispered prayers of gratitude, thinking the loneliness of widowhood might finally be over. But small changes began to appear. Fresh meals stopped arriving for the mother. A full plate went to her son, a smaller one for the wife, and the leftovers, cold rice or bread crusts, were given to the mother. At first, she thought it was a mistake. Then the comments started. "You don't need so much food at your age," the wife said one evening, sliding half a plate toward her. What will happen when the kindness completely disappears? Before we get started, drop a comment below telling us the time and where you're watching from, and make sure to like and subscribe to Black and Wronged. The mother soon noticed a change whenever her son left for work. The sweet, polite tone of the young wife disappeared. Plates were slammed onto the table, and the mother was given only scraps, cold rice, leftover curry, or hard bread. Words that were once kind turned sharp and cruel. "You are too slow, too lazy." "A burden," the wife would sneer. The mother tried to stay calm and quiet, folding her hands and keeping her dignity. But her silence was mocked, her efforts ignored. Nights became heavy with tears as she whispered apologies to her late husband for not protecting herself better. She longed for her son to notice, but he often worked late or traveled, unaware of the cruelty happening under his roof. Even small requests, like asking for tea, were denied or mocked. "Hot tea isn't good for your teeth. I'll give you what's left later," the wife would say, smirking. The household, once peaceful, was now filled with tension, fear, and humiliation. How far will the wife's cruelty go, and who will finally notice her suffering? The mansion hosted a grand dinner. Business partners, neighbors, and friends filled the rooms. Laughter echoed, music played, and the tables overflowed with delicious food: biryani, roasted lamb, desserts. The young wife stood at the center, smiling, her hand tucked in her husband's arm. To everyone else, she looked like the perfect hostess, polite, graceful, and charming. But the elderly mother could see the truth. Behind her polite smile, the wife's eyes were cold and calculating. She had no warmth, no kindness. The leftovers from earlier, cold, greasy, half-eaten plates, were still in the kitchen. The mother knew the perfect image shown to the guests was a mask. In reality, she had been humiliated, forced to eat scraps, and treated as if she were a burden. Even in a room full of people, the mother felt invisible. The mansion seemed divided between appearances and reality, between respect and cruelty. Will anyone finally see the truth behind the red dress, or will the mother continue to suffer in silence? The next morning, the elderly mother decided to make herself a little porridge. She walked into the kitchen, tired and frail, hoping for a simple meal. But the young wife appeared, her heels clicking against the tiles, arms folded. "Porridge?" she mocked. "Why bother? There's plenty of leftover food right here." She pointed to cold, greasy curry, hard rice, and scraps from the previous meals. The mother's stomach turned at the sight and smell. "Please, I don't want to eat that," she whispered, her hands shaking. The wife leaned closer, voice sharp and threatening. "You will eat what I give you, or you won't eat at all." She pushed a plate of cold curry toward the mother, laughing cruelly. The mother pressed her lips together, shaking her head, but the wife continued, forcing the food closer. The kitchen was filled with the stench of leftovers and humiliation. How far will the wife go before someone finally intervenes? Suddenly, the sound of shoes echoed through the marble floors. The son had arrived home early, completely unexpected. His eyes first fell on his mother, crouched on the floor, trembling, blouse stained with cold curry. Then he looked at his wife, looming over her, hands messy with food, lips twisted in cruelty. For a long moment, everything froze. The mother stopped sobbing, and the wife's smile faltered. The son's chest rose and fell with anger and disbelief. "Mother!" he shouted, rushing forward. He dropped to his knees beside her, lifting her frail body gently, wiping her tears with his sleeve. The mother shook her head, unable to speak. But the truth was already clear. The son's eyes, dark and furious, scanned the scene. He had seen every humiliation, every forced bite, every cruel word. What will the son do to stop his wife's cruelty and protect his mother? The son stood tall, shielding his mother with his body. I saw everything, he said, his voice shaking with anger. Today I am here. You will answer for this. The young wife tried to speak. I'm your wife. He cut her off, his voice booming through the kitchen. Then leave. Leave this house today. Take nothing. You deserve nothing. The wife's face twisted in fury. If you throw me out, I'll file for alimony. You'll pay me every month. Weeks later, the wife walked into the courtroom dressed in red, head held high. She claimed abuse and demanded financial support, trying to turn the story against her husband. But the truth could not be hidden. Maids who had witnessed her mock the mother, neighbors who overheard her shouting, and security camera videos all revealed her cruelty, slamming plates, forcing food, and humiliating the elderly mother. The judge listened carefully. This court finds that the respondent's behavior has been cruel, inhumane, and degrading. No financial support will be granted. Gasps filled the courtroom. The wife's face drained of color. She turned toward her husband, but he didn't even glance at her. He sat calmly, holding his mother's hand, steady and resolute. With the court ruling against her, what will become of the wife, and will the mother finally feel safe in her own home? After the court ruling, the wife's world began to collapse. Friends distanced themselves. Invitations stopped coming, and the mansion's gates closed to her forever. She left with nothing, pride shattered, reputation ruined. Meanwhile, the elderly mother slowly regained her peace. The house, once filled with fear and humiliation, was calm again. The son made sure she was cared for, serving her meals with his own hands. The wounds of humiliation lingered, but for the first time in months, the mother felt safe and respected in her own home. The mansion now reflected warmth, love, and dignity rather than fear and cruelty. The wife's fall was swift, but justice restored balance in the household. Will the mother fully recover her dignity? And how will life change for her and her son? The elderly mother finally regained her dignity. She sat at the family table once more with her son by her side. For the first time in months, her meals were warm, her tears wiped away, and her heart felt at peace. The wounds of humiliation still lingered, but the love and care of her son made her feel safe again. Every time she looked at him, she didn't just see a wealthy man, she saw the boy she raised, the son who came home just in time to protect her. The mansion, once a place of fear, had returned to being a home filled with respect, love, and warmth. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to see that truth, and respect always win. Subscribe now for more powerful real-life stories that inspire and uplift.